Ahoy YouTube, Webbers5 here, coming at you today with my Plunder Patrol deck profile, as requested. So guys, before I get into the profile, I just want to quickly say, naturally, because the deck only has like 12 cards in it, it's not that amazing right now, but I'm playing it for the moment because I want to try Plunder Patrol Sharks once we get the Shark support in the next set. So I'm just playing it now to start getting used to the gimmicks of how they work. But frankly, I'm finding it's working quite well pure. So I might keep it that way, I might build it with Sharks, I'm not sure, we'll see. But for the moment, let's get into the profile. Okay guys, to start in the profile off, we've got the Plunder Patrol monsters. So I'm playing 3 Redbeard and 3 Whitebeard. So for those who don't know what Plunder Patrols do, they're similar to Sky Strikers in that they tag themselves out into the extra deck monsters. However, unlike Sky Strikers, as opposed to tributing themselves to special summon a new one, they special summon and equip themselves to them. So both Whitebeard and Redbeard have the same first effect, which is once during your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can special summon a Plunder Patrol monster from your extra deck with the same attribute as a monster your opponent controls or is in their graveyard. So currently, the extra deck has 3 different attributes. So it's a little restrictive currently, but there is naturally the trap card, which lets you manipulate attributes, which makes it a bit easier. And then each one has their own individual effect, which is triggered when they're sent from either the hand or monster zone to your graveyard. So Whitebeard's effect is it lets you special summon a Plunder Patrol from your deck, except for itself. So in this case, currently that was Redbeard. And then Redbeard's effect is if it's sent, you can equip it to a Plunder Patrol you control. And then also I should point out Whitebeard has the added thing of being a tuner monster, which is pretty useful for extra deck plays. Next a couple of turbo cards for trying to link summon quickly. So playing 3 Tin Goldfish. So Goldfish, if he's normal summon, you can special summon a level 4 monster from your hand. All the Plunder Patrol so far are level 4, so useful like that. And he's water attribute as well, which doesn't make too much of a difference, but like I said guys, I was thinking of playing this with Sharks, so Tin Goldfish lets me have the option of Bahamut Shark when I get a Bahamut Shark. And then also playing Silent Angler, who's just a free special summon if I control a water attribute monster, so pretty easy like that. Next, did some testing around, decided to put in a bit of a Danger Engine to try and speed the deck up. So, Danger Engine consisting of 1 Nessie, 2 Jackalope, 2 Tsuchinoko, and 2 Mothman. Those are the only ones I played because of the small. I only had a small space for the engine, so figured I'd just pick the best ones for the job. So naturally, Nessie floats as anything, Jackalope and Suchi as special summons, and Mothman simply because naturally the Plunder Patrols have the effect, can get their effects off if they're sent from the hand to the graveyard. So if they're discarded off Mothman, it triggers them as well. Next plods I'm playing are Chichi Jews to manipulate my opponent's attributes. So playing the ones that have the best synergy for the deck. So playing 1 Gamma Seal and 1 Dogoran. So Gamma Seal to tag out into my Link monster, and Dogoran to tag out into my Synchro. I'm not playing the Dark Kaiju because, frankly guys, since Dark is such an easy, prominent attribute, I didn't feel the need to. Okay, so that's it for the monsters I'm playing. Next go into my spells. So playing 3 of the Plunder Patrol Shipyard. So Shipyard gives all your Plunder Patrols a 500 buff for each Plunder Patrol card in your spell and trap zone. So when they equip themselves to them, that counts as them being in the spell and trap zone. So that gives all your monsters, so that gives all of them an extra power boost. And then Shipyard also has the effect that you can discard a card to add a Plunder Patrol card from your deck to your hand. So good way to get into the trap card, which is pretty much crucial for the deck. And naturally, this also triggers the effects of Whitebeard and Redbeard when they're discarded. It's also another reason I like the Danger Engine, because it can trigger those as well. And then Shipyard also has a graveyard effect, which is if it's in the graveyard, you can target a Plunder Patrol card in your spell and trap zone, set Shipyard, and then return the card to your hand. This is pretty useful, I find, if I use one of their effects to go into Blackbeard, because Blackbeard doesn't really need anything equipped to it, so it's pretty useful like that. Just put something back in my hand, which gives me a discard later, and then I can just reset Shipyard. And then also to go along with the 3 Shipyard, 1 Terraforming to try and hit into that Shipyard. Next, this next card is another bit of Draw Turbo. I'm playing 3 copies of Magic Planter. So the deck has a continuous trap, which I don't necessarily need 3 of on the field. I mean, typically I'd keep it in my hand, but I'm also playing some other continuous traps in here, and frankly, after they're used up, they can just clog, so it's pretty useful as a way to get rid of that and just get me some extra draws. Furthermore, I'm pretty sure when we get more support, we're probably going to get more continuous spells and traps, because naturally, Shipyard goes with Plunder Patrol cards in the spell and trap zone, so probably going to get more of those. Probably another continuous trap and another continuous spell in the next set, so might help with that, but we'll have to see. Next, one-off cards I'm playing. So, one card destruction can trigger the effects of the dangers, triggers the effects of the Plunder Patrols in hand. So it's fine. And ideally, again, I want to try and turbo into seeing them as possible. 1 upstart, because draw thin through the deck. 1 reborn, because I thought, why not? And then last spell I'm playing, 1 pot of Avarice for recycling capabilities. Naturally, guys, because we only have 12 cards and only 6 monsters, the extra deck monsters have effects that require you to discard Plunder Patrols, so once you run out, you're kind of in a bit of a stuck position, so Avarice to try and cycle them back. So that's it for the spells. Going into the traps, because for the moment there is 1 trap that is critical, and then a few others which I'm playing for personal choice. So first up, 3 of the main trap, Plunder Patrol Booty. So this trap lets you declare an attribute and target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Change its attribute to the one you declared, then you can take a Plunder Patrol monster from your graveyard and either shuffle it into your deck or special summon it. So you use it to manipulate the attribute of the extra deck monster that you want to go into. And then you can either bring back like Whitebeard or Redbeard, and then because it's your opponent's turn, and then because you're probably doing this on your opponent's turn, you're just going to go effect, tag out into the monster that I want. And so that's pretty useful like that. However, Booty does have a slight drawback, which is during the end phase, if you don't control any Plunder Patrol monsters, you can send it to the graveyard. Also, guys, I have to point out, Plunder Patrol Booty, I'm finding, is one of the really good things of why this deck can be so good in the grind game, because you can just continuously use this to put like your Redbeard and Whitebeard back into your deck, so you've got discards later. It's pretty easy to go into, which is pretty useful. You can also use it to bring back the extra deck monsters, provided that you summon them properly. So I typically try to summon at least 1 of them properly, so I've got a bigger monster that I can go into later. Next trap I'm playing, 3 Crackdown, just as a disruption on my opponent. Gives me an extra monster in case I want to go into Blackbeard, just by messing with my opponent a little bit. Also works well with the Magic Planter as well, because I've checked the ruling, guys. If I Magic Planter away a Crackdown, I still get to keep the monster. I mean, by default, because of Crackdown's effects, I still can't really do anything with it, but still, it's 1 thing off my opponent's field. And then last track I'm playing, which is, again, for recovery purposes, 2 Jar of Avarice, simply for the purpose that it can let me recycle back the spells and traps, so I've got extra discard fodder. Okay, so that's it for the main deck. Going into the extra deck, starting with the main Link monster. 3 copies of Blackbeard, the Plunder Patrol Captain. So Blackbeard requires 2 monsters, including a Plunder Patrol, so he's really easy to go into. So as a quick effect, Blackbeard lets you do pretty much the same thing as what the main deck Plunder Patrols do, which lets you tag out into one of the extra deck ones. And then Blackbeard's effect also lets you draw 1 card out of it, but as opposed to targeting a Plunder, but Blackbeard lets you use the effect on any effect monster that you control. It doesn't have to be a Plunder Patrol that you tag into. But naturally, when you equip it, if it's not a Plunder Patrol, that's not ideal. But still. So yeah, Blackbeard I find is really useful. He's just so good. So use water attributes, so if you use the trap to turn your opponent's thing into water, you can tag out into Blackbeard. Next, the Synchro 3 Plunder Patrol ship Bran. This one's probably my more favourite of the Plunder Patrol extra deck monsters. So Bran is a level 8 Synchro. His summon requirements are generic of 1 tuner and 1/1 non-tuners. So he gives other fiends you control a 500 buff, so it doesn't count himself, which is kind of annoying. And then Bran can discard a Plunder Patrol card to target and banish an opponent's spell and trap. Then you get to roast for a Plunder Patrol monster. And if it's equipped with a Plunder Patrol card, then that becomes a quick effect, which is pretty useful. So against the right matchups, it's just like Bran, okay, discard, pop, banish your back row, search a monster, so that you can then set up with that on the next turn. Then 3 Plunder Patrol Moark, the XZs. So like Bran, he's generic, 2 level 4s, and he's the opposite of Bran, so he discards Plunder Patrols to banish monsters, and then he rotates for a spell or trap. It's really good. And as an XZ, and he does have an effect regarding being an XZ's monsters in terms of materials. So his effect, he's got the added effect that if a Plunder Patrol card or cards would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material from him instead. But naturally, if you summon him off the effect of one of the main deck off one of the Plunder Patrols, then he's not really going to have any XZ's materials to use. But it's a useful effect if you ever want to use it. So that's primarily it for the extra deck, guys. That's pretty much the only stuff I go into, but for those wondering what's in the remainder of my extra deck, I don't really go into any of it, but I've got 2 Miss Starboy, because my deck's all waters, so I thought, why not? The issue is it conflicts with Bran because it's fire attribute. 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, just generic spot removal. Then I've also got a couple of XZs in here. Emerald for another form of recovery, but I never really go into him, I never really need him. And then 1 Dweller, because my deck's primarily water types, water attributes, so I can get Dweller on the field with a buff, and I've got something to disrupt my opponent's grave. My guess is, depending on what support we get in the next, what extra deck support we get for Plunder Patrol in Eternity Code, most of this stuff's probably going to be coming out. Okay guys, so that's the profile. Hope you all enjoyed it. Leave a comment below what you thought about it. Like the video as always if you enjoyed it. So for the next update to this profile will probably be after Eternity Code, when the deck, you know, gets more support. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Webbers5, and if you're already subscribed, feel free to hit that notification bell so that you never miss an upload.